nigga, I won. Yes. Cause nigga, I won. But you thought that I was finished. Genius.
Hey everybody, it's Jim of Animateducated, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the new Chicken Run movie, Dawn of the Nugget. Yes, it's the next chapter in this tale of continuing on from the past Chicken Run movie that was made about 20 years ago. And anyway, I got to see this at the Animation Is Film Festival that was held in Hollywood a few days ago. And I got to see this question and answer segment after the movie with director Sam Fell and executive producer Peter Lord of Aardman Animation. So sit back and relax and enjoy this question and answer.
We'll dive right in. So, well, let's just start. You know, Chicken Run was the first feature that Aardman did. You'd already racked up a shelf full of Oscars for your shorts, for the Wallace and Gromit shorts, Creature Comforts. But just remind us, because some of us weren't alive in the year 2000. Why that was the studio's choice. To be the first feature. Was there kind of a strategic aspect to it?
Oh, never strategic. No, never that. We only. No, I'm joking. We did think about a Wallace and Gromit feature because that would have been kind of obvious. But I think we wanted to do something new. We wanted to try something new, and but Wallace and Gromit, seeing a close shave on the big screen, convinced us that this technique would work, because when you think about it, you've got a very small head, like only big, and that's going to be blown up on a gigantic screen like this, and we weren't quite convinced that was going to work. We thought that might look ugly or weird, but no, it did work, and so we thought, we looked around for a project, and Nick had done a drawing of a chicken with a spoon digging a hole, and that drawing inspired the idea to do an escape movie with chickens. Yes, it sounds a bit silly now. And me and Nick, we went and we had a very memorable dinner in LA with Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg and a few other people, as you do. And we were literally eating chicken because that was the speciality of the house, and then the pitch to Steven Spielberg was, we're going to do The Great Escape with chickens, and I think that's great. I think that is a great pitch, because it doesn't tell you anything about the story at all, except it suggests, well, that would be fun.
I mean, if I had millions of dollars and Aardman pitched me that, you would have my millions immediately. And it worked out well. It launched, a much more ambitious sort of chapter for the company. And a short little 23 years later, we have the sequel that I think a lot of us have wanted. I mean, it ended on a happy note. So, Sam, can you tell us kind of like, if you're going to revisit these characters, it's not obvious what you're going to do with them. They've already been liberated, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that did such a brilliant job of wrapping up their story, such a great ending, and such a feel-good ending, literally happily ever after. And I think, that's one of the reasons it's taken this long to kind of come up with the next chapter, was just doing it right for a start. It's a really beloved movie, and a brilliant movie. And so it just took forever and ever. I think in truth it's not a huge studio. It doesn't have a massive massive pipelines, So the Wallace and Gromit movie, fantastic, and it wasn't until I think there were many brainstorming sessions and attempts, but the one line that cracked it was This Time They're Breaking In, which Kerry came up with Pete and Nick before my time, actually, in 2015. So when I came to it, it was just the promise of that premise that really grabbed me, was just the thought of Aardman doing a new kind of movie, a break-in movie, and just how unlikely chickens are to be action heroes. You know, just forget Sly Stallone, forget Tom Cruise. It's Bunty and Babs, and they've got corkscrews and teaspoons and stuff. So just the delight of that Aardman, the ingenuity of Aardman doing a break-in movie. Just really unlocked it suddenly.
Well, and you had history with Aardman. Of course, you directed Flushed Away. Have you guys seen Flushed Away? And you went off to work on Paranorman for Leica, and this is kind of a homecoming. You've done some nice work, Sam. But tell us sort of like, did they have to lure you back, or were you? Just what was the reunion like for you? This has been a few years already, too.
Yeah. I've been doing this for 6 years actually, and I always gravitate back to the UK. It's my home. And I've met Pete. I bumped into Pete in 10 Downing Street, actually, which is like where the Prime Minister lives.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does.
Peter has a very typical life.
It was just like a celebration of animation, and Pete said, do you want to come and look at what we're doing? We've got Chicken Run 2. We think we've cracked it. It's this time they're breaking in. And so I came to it. And I sort of rushed in, really, and I think that's what I've always done, to be honest, is just rush into things I'm excited by, and then the gravity hits me later. So like once I was in there with Chicken Run, it's super exciting, amazing characters, such love for the film. But then after a while, it's kind of daunting. It is kind of daunting as well, because people were coming up to me and just saying, this was my childhood, like this means so much to me, this film, and there's a big responsibility as well, so it's definitely been two sides, exciting, but also kind of daunting as well, and I think that's why it's taken so long to figure out how to evolve a new movie from the amazing masterpiece that it came from, and just evolve it in a way that it's comes from the first movie, but it's a movie in its own right, I hope,
Yeah, sure. And it sets it up in a way that a whole new generation discovering it doesn't need that first movie, but if you know it...
You can watch the two together, it flows, but I think definitely having Molly and a younger character coming into it gives you a new POV.
Do you want to talk, I don't know to what extent that was, your initiative, or it's Carrie Kirkpatrick and some of this... A couple of the writers who've been on the first one, a new writer, but that is kind of, as much as the breaking in, that feels like a huge part of this, the parent role. And,
you started, Pete, it was with Kerry, and you started with Rocky more, didn't you? Rocky and Nobby.
Yes, when the idea first started, that we would give Rocky and Ginger a child, and that would be at the heart of the adventure. When it first started, that was a little boy who had been part of the story of the first movie, and then had got chucked out at some stage because there was no room for him. He was called Nobby, and he was absurdly cute. But and so the first idea was they had a child, and it was going to be a father-son story with Rocky and his son, and he wanted the son to be more like him. And there was, there's a good story there. There really is. And the logic was, the first movie we've given Ginger her story. Now let's give Rocky his story. And that was quite a good idea. But then people at Aardman, notably women at Aardman, said, well, this is a terrible mistake you're making here, because you've created a superb female protagonist, a true hero, and now you're sidelining her. So, that was right. So as a result, Sam knows, as a result, we had to do a complete rewrite.
Well, you guys were ahead of your time with her, just because, if 6 years ago you're thinking, let's make a father-son story, there's also a little bit of read the room. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the Hollywood is catching up to something that Aardman had kind of established, not established, but been ahead of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first movie passes most of the tests for it being a feminist movie. Actually, like the lead female
Sort of
character.
Bechdel test.
Yeah, the
sort of
Bechdel
thing.
test.
Yeah,
They're all named. They don't talk about men, or they talk about other stuff.
Right,
And you know their names.
And also, like in the first one, you've got all these chickens desperately trying to escape, and then the handsome hero comes in to save the day. But he's no good at all. He's an absolute, he's a fake and a fraud, and no help at all until the very, very end.
But that definitely sort of unlocked it again. You get these moments, you work away for years, and then you get these moments of things that just epiphanies that unlock everything, and then sort of shift to Ginger, gave us Molly, of course, and then just that whole notion of it being, what's the next challenge for her, and Molly being like the biggest challenge. And in fact, Molly's, as you've seen, a reflection of just really a mini Ginger in many ways. Yeah, and then also the other thing was we had a male villain in that earlier version as well, thinking that, like Bond, you get a new villain each chapter, and that, it'd be cool to have a new villain, and so Dr. Fry there was actually more like the main villain, and then but bringing Mrs. Tweedy back was another one of those great moments where you're like, oh, of course,
When that happened in this theater, because it's a great gag too, because how long until we see her face, it's her kind of thing. But you could tell how many people had seen the first movie just by the reaction to that entrance. There was this horrible thing that happened at Aardman about 15 years ago with the fire, and I thought that might have been one of the big reasons why it was just hard to make a sequel, because you lost so much. I assume almost all the Chicken Run stuff.
Yeah, we did. You're right. We had the fire was in a storage facility, so not in the studio as such, but in that storage facility was everything from Chicken Run 1. So, 300 chickens and all the chicken huts and the pie making machine and the big airplane in which they fly away at the end. All these lovely, lovely things were vaporized in a mighty fire. So that was the problem, and it did actually hold us back from. It was one of the things that stopped us making a sequel. Actually, was we thought we'd have to start again with recreating the figures from nothing, and that's true. That's what we did have to do. We had to. There was almost nothing left. It's amazing how little was left. One tatty, shop-soiled Ginger and a few bits of some other characters was all that was left. So we had to start again.
Yeah. But a very, very good making-of book, which was like what helped me, because I was like, how am I going to make Chicken Run the sequel? Oh, there's a making-of book. That's good. And there's a lot of information in there for all the departments, because it jogged memories, because a lot of people that worked on this did work on the first one, but it's a little bit lost in time, some of the detail.
Those books are, it's so incredible. For anyone who loves animation enough to be at this festival, it's like we've seen them, just the way, because if you love the artistry of this, you're getting to see the sketches and the things that don't make it onto the screen, the magician's tricks. But it's funny that it becomes sort of like, if those original drawings are lost, obviously technology is transformed enormously too. You made a CG Aardman film, and now Pirates had a real kind of blending of the two, technology and stop motion. Here, I think we're kind of seeing this very sophisticated blending where there's some. Will you pull back the curtain a little bit and tell us how you worked with whether it's compositing or effects?
The real rule was always like, make it. If you can make it, we'll make it. If we can afford to make it, we'll make it. So mostly what you're getting is what you got in the first one. It's the over 100 years old method of animating a puppet frame by frame. The faces are still clay, improvised in camera, and they are like performances. So that's the true. And then so everything that was digital, we tried to keep it like making it feel real. The big change, or the big challenge in this has been scale. Because you think of the first movie, they were contained in their huts down in their little chicken scale indoors. The ideal stop motion scene is two characters in a room, you know, like Wallace and Gromit.
In a white void.
Yeah,
like,
well, you know,
Pip
some
and
nice
Pog,
little,
yeah.
you know, Wallace and Gromit having breakfast in the wrong trousers. It's just the
Right.
perfect in camera. But with this, the line this time they're breaking in meant that our chickens were going to be going out into the land of the giants, effectively. And you can see that Mrs. Tweedy is this big, and here's the chicken, so that you can't just shoot them in one go. So there was a lot of compositing passes, different passes. There was a human pass and a chicken pass, and it really created a lot of complexity for the schedulers, because you know we had to have 2 units for one shot. You know, we'd be shooting the human scale over there and then the chicken scale there, combining it in comp. But the way it was put together is pretty old-fashioned. You know, it's still like building scale models. I looked at the Land of the Giants, the 1960s TV series. Lots of just those basic, you know, visual tricks that you use to kind of pull off that trick.
Forced perspective and things like that.
Completely, yeah. And then there are computer-generated chickens in this. I will confess.
Well, I mean, there's one shot
crowds,
of the island that's just kind of like you pull back and you see.
Yeah, everybody, the life, yeah. And in the distance, they are digital chickens, but they're scanned from real ones, so you know what they should look like.
Right.
So, you know.
Well, most of them are real. Most of them are tangible chickens. I mean, there's a lot of chickens on that set.
Right. That are just kind of like all been combined at sometimes. You know, like when all of them have to be zombified into.
Yeah, and it's sort of like I always think, you know, I want the stop motion animators to be doing what they're doing, the real magic, which is bringing like characters to life. In the distance, if you just want sense of population and movement, then I'm okay with that not being on their plate, because it means that, you know, they're spending their time doing the, you know, the really great stuff.
Do you know what we hate? We hate extras. You know, like, that kills you in stop motion. It's so easy in live action. Yeah, get 50 people in, that's easy. But if we get 50 chickens in, that's going to be 6 months' work for somebody.
Complicates things, doesn't it? Well, I mean, you've got like hundreds of them in, you know, the Funland stuff. Tell me, you know, if Chicken Run 1 is The Great Escape with Chickens, you know, what are some of your reference points here? I mean, I think we probably recognize it.
Hopefully, Chicken Impossible is definitely like in my mind, you know.
You even got the actual Lalo Schifrin, you know, kind of score in there.
Yeah.
In case anyone misses it.
Yeah. We were allowed to quote it for 20 seconds, I think.
Like underwater bit, I think.
Yeah, exactly, right in that moment. Obviously Bond. And then I liked the sort of sub-Bonds, the kind of Euro spy films. There's like the Yugoslavian Bond, 077.
Right.
Because it's got a kind of a slightly naff kind of quality to it, which makes me smile. I think it's kind of funny. Jerry Anderson, like Super Marionation, so like a lot of the design, the British, you know, miniature model making. And also we looked at a lot of Jerry Anderson for the effects. So the water in the lake, it is CG, but I said make it look like a tank, like it's shot in a bath. So like the splashes are the wrong scale, and like all the sparks are all kind of like overscale. And like when we blew the building up at the end, it was like make it look like a model that was blown up and it didn't quite work.
Right.
You know. So
like one of these Godzilla movies.
Yeah. So I was just trying to look for that lo-fi kind of more, you know, retro kind of feeling to the effects even.
Yeah. I mean, when you were at Leica, it seemed like perfection was the goal, and at Aardman, it seems like it's not that imperfection is the goal, but you guys embrace imperfection.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's definitely a point of difference, and I think in all for comedy, I think everything's always looking for like where's the fun or the charm in things, you know. I think that's true.
You're quite right. I never think that perfection to me is not really a good word. You know, I'm not. That doesn't interest me. I'm interested in life and energy and expression. You know, and perfection not so much.
Right. All right. If there are any kids with questions, what if we end with? Are there any kids at all here? I'll let you shout.
A bunch of grown-up kids.
Okay. Can the kid in the back row shout their question, or did you not have one? Why has Netflix been your partner of choice for the last few projects?
I think, me personally, I think Netflix really get animation, and you can tell they've broken a lot of new ground. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Netflix are great supporters of the filmmaker. That's their big proud boast, and it's true. And in the sort of the old world, the world of stuff in theatres was just becoming more and more careful and cautious and sort of not so welcoming to something crazy and ambitious like a big chicken film. God bless them. They really got behind this movie, and that's for us. There was no competition. There was no discussion. This is the perfect partners.
And a global audience as well is important, and I think Aardman's got a global audience, and it's a great way to reach everybody on the planet that loves Aardman.
I mean, it's great. I remember, back having a Wrong Trousers video cassette and passing it around a little bit like you would like a bootleg thing, even if it was, something I bought at the store, and like just introducing people to it, and it being this kind of, for us Americans, this kind of Discovery Underground thing, and it's like, and Chicken Run made it a global phenomenon, and and here we are. I think Netflix is just going to make sure that the most people that could see this will and can watch it over and over.
And you kind of think, in a way, although it's in English, it's kind of like a foreign movie, or there's this like foreignness to it. And I love the accents and the regional dialects in Chicken Run 1, and I wanted to keep that and push it further. So we got a Liverpool chicken in now, and Netflix were not worried at all about it. They weren't worried about trying to water that down. They were really happy for it to be true to its origins. Like where it came from.
So I know this movie's going to get seen 2,000 and 2,000 times by some people. When we're going back and rewatching it, tell us like a detail to watch for, just like a favorite little in-joke.
You can see there's a notorious penguin pops up in one of the shots, just one. He pops up silently, looks around, and just slinks away to go and do some evil somewhere else.
I didn't catch that. I have to watch it 2,000 more times.
Yeah. There's 1,500 shots, and it's in one of them. So.
Okay. Did anyone catch feathers in the movie? We're going to have to watch it again.
Yeah.
How about you? Is there something you suggest we look for?
No, I'm sorry, I honestly don't know about the secret. I mean, for example, I confess, I still haven't seen feathers. I've looked.
Yeah, honestly.
I've looked many times. I know that.
I love that the snail feels like a wink to kind of like you got so many laughs out of the slugs and
they're always
flushed away.
Yeah.
They've got the same kind of like squeaky
The
voice.
same mouth, don't they?
It's gotta look funny, like I just think they look funny,
Right.
Keep a slug in your pocket, just in case.
All right. Well, do you want to demonstrate anything with our co-stars, and then we'll wrap up here?
Well, I mean, these are the real figures that you just saw blown up on that giant screen there, yeah.
And that's real fabric on.
Mrs. Tweedy has a real costume, so that's like the previous one. That's this little stitched costume. It's hard to see, but the design of her fabric is similar to the first one. There's a claw in
Chicken foot,
there's a chicken foot in the fabric design of her first costume. When we put that back in, their heads come off.
Oh
Very
no!
handy. This is very handy if you want to go and work on it. So they go and the animators go and sit and spend ages down here working in close up in these details. The bodies are all made of silicone now, and the hands. We had clay arms as well. If you want to, because a hand is a very expressive thing, and sometimes you want to sculpt a very particular hand to make a gesture. So the animators were able to improvise with clay hands, but mostly they're made of this silicone, which is really quick to use, relatively quick.
And you guys are going to be around in the lobby, is that right? Or is that not planned?
So yeah, I mean, we're always hanging around in lobbies, me and Pete.
Well, that's all the time
Always
we have
available
here.
for a chat. No, if you want to chat, you've got other questions.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do we have to scurry off? We should wrap it up. Okay, we'll let you seem eager and young. That's what I was looking for. And then we'll wrap with you.
Yeah, what I love about this is that it's been 23 years, but you guys found a story organically, which happens with a lot of movies, which is why they take so long to develop. So, do you think that if you let this sit for a while and then come back to it over time, that in the next 20 years we could? But like, that's not a joke though. Like, if you work on different projects, work on different IPs, and then something just comes organically, that like in the next 20 years we could see another chicken.
Yes, absolutely we could. I mean, yeah. Don't
The
hold
question
your breath,
was,
but-
will we maybe see another Chicken Run 20 years down the road, or?
Yeah, because we had some really great ideas that didn't make it through to the final film. There was a whole subplot about cockfighting, where Rocky encountered a group of quite alarming international fighting roosters. So, but there was no room for that in the end.
They were very funny. Klaus, the German boxing chick rooster, was there. But yeah, I don't know that word universe particularly, but there's many stories you could tell, because there's something universal about the stories of family, life or death, and I think the thing that Ginger's always had, I like, is that she could have always escaped on her own, but she refused to leave unless she got every chicken out of there, and there's that kind of, her idealism, I think, is a very big universal idea that, I could imagine. I wonder what would happen next with Ginger, actually.
See, aren't you happy I asked that question?
We're delighted. And now we know about Klaus and the cockfighting subplot. So we are in the presence of living legends. Let's hear it for them. Thank you for coming and supporting the festival. Tell your friends about the movie. It'll be on Netflix soon.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that Q&A with director Sam Fell and executive producer Peter Lord of Aardman Animation. And go check out Chicken Run, The Dawn of the Nugget. Yes, it's on Netflix. And if anybody from Netflix wants to contact me and let me promote other things they've done that are animated, please get in contact with me. And if you want to subscribe and you like this episode, you can press that button right there. I also have some other videos up here that you might be interested in. And I'll see you next time on Animated Educated.